Hi, I'm State Senator Joe Markley, standing outside what is now the empty Senate chamber. About half an hour ago, we adjourned sine die, as they say, with no determined day in sight, with this legislative session over. However, as part of this legislative session, we already passed a call to bring ourselves back into session. In fact, we are officially back in session. It doesn't mean that we'll be up here working. It means that negotiations will go on, and that at the point at which there's something for us to consider, we can be brought back to the Capitol. The end of session, some of you have heard me speak about before, I have at best mixed feelings about, because I feel like after moving very slowly through through our business most of the time, we tend to work in a frenzy that I find unattractive and not suitable for the sort of work we're supposed to be doing in the final bit. Tonight was not the worst I've seen. I might give it a C- on the scale of end of sessions that I've seen. But you do have people talking fast when they bring up votes, and some rather dirty looks if you actually try to ask questions or talk about the subjects before us. I got those dirty looks when I spoke just about an hour before session was due to end on the constitutional lockbox provision, which is before us for the second time. It passed the House a few days ago. It's now gone through the Senate. It means it will be on the ballot for the voters in the next state election. And this is a transportation, an amendment to make the state transportation fund constitutionally established, so that it would take another amendment to get rid of it. What it does not do is specify what that money is to be spent on. That is specified in statute, so that can be changed by the legislature anytime. And another thing it doesn't do is put in the Constitution where the money is going to come from. So that can be changed by the legislature anytime. So as I said in the legislature, and as I say to you tonight, we are perpetrating a fraud upon the people of Connecticut by giving them a guarantee that if we get additional transportation revenue, whether it's by tolls, watch out for that, or through the gas tax, or by any other means, that somehow we're guaranteeing it's going to be used for transportation. This constitutional amendment does not guarantee that. The only thing that can guarantee that is electing legislators up here who will honor their commitments to the taxpayers and who will act responsibly in spending money. When it comes to spending money, I'll say a word about the budget situation. We brought, as an amendment, our budget before the legislature this evening. After a couple of hours of presentation, the majority party moved to remove it from the floor. It's called PTing, passing temporarily. So the bill is taken off the floor and not voted on. Tabled, essentially. That's not a motion that we have in the Senate, but that's what it comes down to. We challenged that motion. The vote was tied because of the 18-18 tie in the Senate, and the Lieutenant Governor, as she has on every tied vote in this session, voted with the Democrats. So we didn't have a vote on our budget. That said, there was a little bit of a show aspect to it. There's been a lot of this debating, then PTing without coming to a vote, and mostly done by the Democrats over the last few days down in the House on marijuana, on tolls, and it's happened on the family medical leave up here in the Senate yesterday. It's happened several times. I've got to say, I don't see the point of it. Either you pass a bill or you don't pass a bill, and the fact that you stood on the floor for a couple hours and talked about it, to me, doesn't accomplish anything. If I want to talk, I'll talk to you folks on the video. But that's how it came out. It doesn't change the fact that I think that the budget we've put out is a serious document. And in this video, you'll find, is embedded in a petition that we're circulating to ask people to sign up and say that they would like to see this budget or a budget based on these principles go forward. So if you're with us on this, please sign the petition. In fact, circulate it to your friends. The budget, as I've said before, is a budget that does not raise taxes, does not decimate aid to the municipalities, and in fact, in most cases, gives more school aid to municipalities than they've had in the past, and preserves essential social services to the greatest extent possible. I've worked in that field, and I believe that the human services advocates generally recognize that the Senate Republican budget is better than any of other budget before them in terms of how it treats those who are most in need in our society. I'm proud of that fact. I wish, I still regret some of the cuts we make in different areas, but we are in tough times in this state. You've heard me say it many times, and that won't change. We will be back here to vote on a budget someday. Deadline number one is the end of this month. Our fiscal year ends at the end of June, so there'll be some pressure on us to get something settled before then. What worries me is if we go past into July, there really is no deadline, and the only deadline will be the state's inability at a certain point to pay its bills without going out and borrowing money. That would be a terrible wake-up call to have. We ought to wake ourselves up and do the right thing. And I think the right thing, more or less, is contained in that budget that this email is part of. Folks, I will be back to you to report when I have something to tell you about the budget negotiations. And in the meantime, my best wishes to you, and God bless this state of Connecticut. Thank you for your attention.